I'm curious what you think about this because I've watched the first week of the season and I'm ready for some wholesale change. Eliminate the corner three, move the three back a couple of feet, whatever it is. It's too many threes. And Boston on Twitter, for whatever reason, Boston has looked at this and says, you are taking a shot at us. Hey, Boston is just angry and mean like every damn time. Like y'all should be happy y'all won something. Ain't nobody talking about y'all. I'm talking about the game as a whole. Like as someone who is a fan of basketball and where the game is going, evolution, everything else. I don't want to see teams taking 55% of their shots from 3-point range. I want to see guys get to the lane. I want to see the post up. I want to see the mid range. I want to see diversity in basketball. And for some reason, J.A. Adande, Boston got their panties in the bunch.
Well, they do take it as a front because they're all in on this, right? Their whole basket is we're going to take a lot of threes. We don't care if they're not falling. We know that the percentages, the odds, the numbers, the analytics are on our side. So just keep putting up those threes, and that's our path to victory. And again, they just were validated with it last June. But, God, the aesthetics of it are so difficult to watch. And it does something about it intrinsically, like I can't take you seriously when all you're doing is coming down and putting up those threes. You might be good at it. Jason Tatum certainly seems like he's been in the gym working on it ever since he got back from Paris. So you can do it. It's not aesthetically pleasing. I was watching the game the other night. I think it was a Clipper game. Come down, take a three, miss. Rebound, kick it back out, another three. Like, I don't want to see that over and over again. And the problem is there's so few counter to it, right? Everyone's trying to do the same thing. Like, it was fun. You know what I love? I love those when the Warriors were first coming up, Warriors versus Grizzlies, when it was the Warriors trying to do
Styles
this new
make
way.
fights.
Right. And then the Grizzlies grit and grind. We're not taking threes. We're going to post up Zebo on you and see what you can do about it. Like, I like that contrast. And when everyone just comes down and shoots threes, it's funny. I almost talked about this in my speech because you had so many of the 80s Lakers in there. But, like, I want to sound too grumpy old man. But to me, a fast break is Magic coming down 3-on-2 and dishing to Worthy or Byron Scott or Cooper for a dunk. It's not somebody coming down and everybody fans out to the 3-point line and they cast up a three, that you can get at any point as opposed to a transition layup or dunk. And so that's what I miss. The basketball I grew up on, and yeah, I'm sounding every bit of my now 54 years.
It's fine. They need to hear it. They need to hear it.
I like seeing that. And when you come down and take a three on a fast break, you're not taking advantage. That's not an advantage to take a three. Again, if you're just going to shoot from 30, you can do that at any point. But how about you take advantage of the numbers? We want to talk about analytics. The numbers, 3 versus 2, that increases the chance you'll get a high percentage shot at the basket, right? What happened to those data, the analytics? That's all the data I ever need. Like, I know now we're into 3 points is more than 2 points, 3 versus 2. I'm used to 3-on-2. Magic's going to find somebody. I'm going to draw 2 to me, or you got the guy in the back. One's got to commit to the ball. The other defender has to pick one.
Yes.
And guess what? 3-on-2, the numbers game, we're getting a layup or a dunk. Easy. A high percentage shot. That's analytics. That's math to me. Like, I don't have anything against analytics or math. I get math. I've always in the percentage, though. Highest percentage rather than volume. It's turned into playing the percentages and to turn into volume, right? And I always say the problem with this approach, what's the enemy of analytics? The small sample size. What is a playoff game? A small sample size. Or even a playoff series is not an indicative sample size, right, to validate your point. Now, getting back to our earlier point, the Celtics very well might have broken it to the point that they're going to be so voluminous with their threes that they're going to be able to absorb. If they shoot 15% from 3, well, 15 out of 50 is still 45 points from 3, right?
Right.
So maybe that's their answer.
I don't get it, Jay. And once again, maybe this is going old, man. I don't care, y'all. I don't care. I legit, J.A., I don't care. Like, I looked at the numbers earlier. I'm going to quiz J.A. here, right? J.A., because you brought the 14-15 Warriors, and I did some homework. I did my research. This is the season where you're supposed to do your research, not just on basketball. Do your research, right? So in 2014-15, The first year of the Golden State dynasty. How many threes do you think Golden State took a night?
I know that whatever they did then that was leading would be like bottom half now, right? If not,
Not bottom
even
half.
lower, last,
Bottom.
right? Bottom,
lowest.
Right? The bottom.
They took 27 threes a night in 2014-15.
And that would be last in the league today?
31%. Yeah, that'd be last in the league today. The lowest is 28, and that's the Spurs of this year, who's shooting 36% from three. 31% of their shots in 2014-15, when we thought Golden State was just an abomination against the game, and 31% of their shots came from three. The next year, when they broke the league, right, 73 wins, they took 31.6 threes a game. 36% of their shots came from three. Then you add Kevin Durant, the greatest offensive nuclear weapon we've probably ever seen, right? They took fewer threes. They took 31.2 and shot 35 and took 35% of their shots came from three. Now you fast forward, J.A., to 21-22, the improbable Steph championship, right? 39 threes a game. 45% of their shots came from three. That's a pretty high number.
And they probably shot a lower percentage, right? They probably made a lower percentage of them, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they made a lower percentage, right? Think about the numbers I'm about to give you for the Celtics. The Celtics take 51 threes a night on 91 shots. So they're literally taking more than half, far more than half. That's like 56%. If my miniature math is correct, I feel like that's between 55 and 56% if you're taking 51 threes on 91 shot attempts. Now, granted, they are hitting it at an incredible clip, okay? Like all those guys are hitting big numbers, right? Like Tatum is at 46% or 48%, excuse me. Jaylen Brown's at 46. Derek White's at 44. I'm not saying it's not effective, and I'm not saying it's not efficient, but I don't watch basketball for efficiency. I didn't fall in love with the game for efficiency. I fell in love with the game because the game just looked different. The game was beautiful. The game had all these other different elements to it besides let's try to get the three. And Boston, if y'all get mad at that, too damn bad. All right, period. Too bad. I don't care. But I'm not bashing Boston because Boston won a championship that year, and you should. Like I'm a child of the bad boys. Nobody liked the bad boys except for people in Detroit. They didn't like the bad boy style of play, but because Detroit won, of course, we're going to embrace it. So I understand it from a provincial standpoint.
Started playing that way.
Yeah.
Cleveland started playing that way in the 90s, right?
The Knicks were lauded for playing like goons and thugs, and they didn't win shit. The Pistons won championships, and I felt like New York was embraced for things that Detroit did, but did better. I felt like all of a sudden we became an NBA that embraced losers.
I will say the 30 for 30 treated the Pistons right, because when that 30 for 30 Bad Boys come, everyone was like, oh man, I love the Bad Boys. Oh man, this was so great. This is the basketball I love. And I was like, no, you didn't. You hated them. Like, don't act like you like them now. You didn't love them. Like, I'm sorry. No one outside of Detroit loved the Pistons back in the day. But then the nostalgia comes around. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I love the Pistons the way they played. No,
you appreciate it in hindsight. That's what
you know what I appreciated? I appreciated, and I never thought about it from their perspective, the climb. The fact that, they had to fight through the Celtics, and then they finally get there and they lose to the Lakers, and then they had to fight all the way back and come back and win. Don't say that word. That banner is just as legitimate as all those other banners of hanging up there back in the Forum back in the day. But
Hugh Evans.
But
I know your name.
I appreciated the climb more when I watched that 30 for 30. And you know who I appreciated? It's funny, being at the Hall of Fame and seeing Larry Bird, and he was very nice. He came up and congratulated me first, and then I stopped him. I said, I was rooting against you growing up in L.A., but I've realized I need to thank you for providing that challenge for the Lakers. Like, the Lakers championships wouldn't have meant as much. The competition wouldn't have been so great if Larry Bird hadn't been so great. If that whole Celtics team, if Red Auerbach, all that made the Celtics, all the people in LA loathed and despised. But guess what? That made everything better. That made life in LA better because there was this great rival. I mean, one thing I've learned from like the Last Dance podcast that I did, Beyond Last Dance, is Phil Jackson would talk about, the appreciation for your rival and even the love and the embrace of your rival. So I'm actually glad I had the chance to tell Larry Bird that, you know what, looking back now, I'm thankful for you. I appreciated you, and so we should do that. I don't know if we'll appreciate these Celtics for what they've done to the game, but you should look at your rival and appreciate. You should appreciate the Lakers and the Celtics and the Bulls back in the day.
I do, Jay. Look, there's nothing more satisfying, and not like vanquishing your rival, but the level of competition, raised in such a way that Michael Jordan's on the other side. We have to be at our absolute best. That's the thought. We have to be at our absolute best to overcome him, because whether he's the greatest of all time or not the greatest of all time, whatever it is, but him as a flesh and blood basketball player, we got to bring it because he's going to bring it. So he brings out the best and sometimes the worst in the guys that he went against. So no, I have a great appreciation for those Bulls teams. I loved those series. Like the fact that the competition was so very fierce. Like the Pistons had to go through the greatest of the greatest to get their championships, which is why Michael Jordan should have never said what he said about the Pistons before Game 4 of the 91 Eastern Conference Finals, where he said they were bad for basketball and they didn't deserve their championships. Damn right, I would have walked out on you too. I would have. I appreciate Mike, but I would have walked out on him too. You ain't gonna disrespect my rings. How dare you?
Don't do
that, Jay. Don't do that. Don't do that, J.A. That's disrespect, J.A. That's J.A. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hall of Famer, J.A. Adande. We out. We out.